Welcome everyone to Nothing But Net Philippines. Make sure to like and subscribe to all our stuff on YouTube. And for everyone that is watching us on the website, make sure to follow us at espn.ph and at ESPN Asia. As you can see, it is a groundbreaking episode. It's the first one ever that we have an in-studio guest, Jeremy Wu, joining us on the show. It's going to be fun. We got a lot to discuss. Let's roll the thing. So Jeremy, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. You must be getting busier as the day goes on if you are here in Bristol joining us on the show.
Yeah. Once we get to Combine Week, it's just, lottery and boom, 2 months of just, it's a sprint for us.
Yeah, like you were telling me before we got on, this is I guess your 10th draft process. Does it get easier for you as this go along?
In some ways.
Okay.
I think it's always a little different. Like each class is a little different. The flow of draft, the pre-draft process and that stuff is, I think it does get a little easier. The more people you know, the easier it is to kind of sort of feel out what's going to happen.
Yeah, and one of the things that I guess eases the flow and ebb of it all is the draft lottery. That is happening on May 13th in Manila. But because we are not there yet, we still have this opportunity to talk about the best fits for some of the players. Because once that lottery is done, we can't really have that speculation anymore. So now that if you could play basketball god right now and say, okay, this player on this team would be the best fit, I want to know what you think. Let's start out with Cooper Flagg. Which team in any of that lottery position would be the best fit for him?
Absolutely. I mean, there's not a team out there that won't be thrilled to win the lottery.
That is true.
Have a chance to take him. If there's one team that sticks out, I think Washington, the Wizards, I think is interesting.
Okay.
I think they have sort of put the personnel in place to add. The one thing they're missing is like a guy who has a great chance to be a star, and I think Cooper would kind of complete that group. They drafted well last year. Alex Starr had a promising rookie year. They've got some good young players in there, but they need a centerpiece to build around, and I think Flagg, defensively, offensively, and also positionally, will give them a boost in terms of shot creation and just defensive backbone. I think they'll really sort of jumpstart what the Wizards are trying to do.
Yeah, there is a lot of holes in that Wizards lineup that Cooper can absolutely plug in there and fill. Another name that is on that big board at the top of it is Dylan Harper. Where do you think would be the best fit for him?
Since the start of the season, I think New Orleans actually is a team that I think would be a great fit for him.
Okay.
Like the Pelicans, I think have really needed a lead guard. It's kind of what they've been missing, a big lead guard for the last few years. They've tried different things, different players sort of as the ball handler, Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram before he was traded. They've rotated in different things, but I think having a true lead ball handler like Harper with the size to kind of create mismatches, play pick and roll, sort of dictate the pace, I think that would be a huge, if you don't win the lottery, if you have the number 2 pick, and if they could add Harper there, I think it'd be a big win for New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, that was the hope with CJ McCollum. Didn't really work out just yet, and maybe that's where he'll maybe hone his skills a little bit more. And you were talking about that pick and roll. His pick and roll partner in college, Ace Bailey, is also another name that is high on this list. Where do you think he would flourish the most in the early part of his career?
One team that's come up as an interesting landing spot for Bailey is Brooklyn. I
like that.
They're sort of in a place in their rebuild where they really need talent. They need scorers. And they kind of have the time now to let a guy like, Bailey's going to come in and probably take his lumps, as a lot of scoring wings do in the NBA. It takes them time to figure out, how to be efficient, where the shots are going to come from. I think landing somewhere like that has the patience and, has minutes for him next year, I think would be a good place to start his career.
So I'm going to lean on you here on a portion of this show that I think a lot of people can really dive in a little bit deeper on, because I think that the draft process is shrouded in mystery a lot, and you've been through 10 of them. You understand it a little bit more than everyone else, myself included. So we're going to play some fact or fiction here to kind of take back the curtain a little bit and understand it a little bit more. So we saw it in the NFL draft, how interviews kind of saw some players fall. We saw them climb a little bit more. And I want to know, when it comes to the NBA, if that holds true as well. So fact or fiction, the interview process in the draft can either bump you up or slide you down a few spots when it comes draft day.
Fact.
Okay.
I've always been a proponent of, I think interviews do matter in terms of when teams are splitting hairs, you only pick one guy. If maybe there's not a strict positional need or not a clear winner if you're arguing in the room, I think the guy who crushes the interview, who the team falls in love with, I think it always has a leg up. It can also hurt you in that way too. If you come in there and you don't seem fully interested, or because half the time, teams already kind of know what type of answer they're trying to get out of you.
Yeah.
So I think being honest and having personality and kind of showing maybe what teams couldn't. They can watch you play for hours, but they don't know who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Being able to just have a little bit of FaceTime can go a long way, particularly if you're not going to visit that team and work out for that.
Now, for a lot of teams that are left in the NBA right now, they are looking at this as the offseason. There's only a few teams left in the playoffs, and a lot of them are thinking rebuild. So my fact or fiction here is, it is easier to rebuild through the draft than it is through free agency. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Okay.
Now, I think that depends largely on what team you are, right? There are some teams in smaller markets where building through the draft is the best way.
OKC, for example. Right.
Yeah. Or Indiana, or teams like that have built their rosters traditionally through the draft. Teams in smaller markets. Bigger market teams is a little different because you have, for example, the Lakers, right? People want to play for the Lakers.
Yes.
You have the advantage sort of built in where if you have cap space and you are in a position where you might need to rebuild or, reload.
Yes.
Or try to attract a star. Sometimes you can sign one, right? But not every team has the capacity to go sign a guy like that. So it varies. But for some teams, the draft is the most viable way, but not everybody.
So it's like fact for 25% of the league. Yeah. Okay, one last one that we got here is a very interesting one because the NBA is starting to feel the presence of NIL in the college game. So my fact or fiction here is that the NBA is starting to feel the NIL money affecting their draft, and it's only going to get worse. Fact or fiction?
Fact. I think you're already seeing it. There are a lot of players who are not testing the waters for the draft this year. They're just going to go to school and get paid well and make more money and play in college and stay eligible and compete there. Now, counterpoint, I don't think NBA teams mind to some extent because it kind of filters out some of the guys who are on the fringe, right? They go back to school. In theory, they develop and get better. In theory, when they do get to the NBA or end up in the draft, they're maybe more finished products, you might say, right? Closer to contributing. So I think the process kind of like self-selects in that way. But the impact of that's real.
Will the NBA start looking at age differently if that's the case, with them staying in college a little bit longer because of the NIL deals?
Yes and no. At the top of the draft, younger guys always will get precedence because you can project out. There's just more time for them to develop. But further down in the draft, where you often have teams who are in the playoffs or drafting for need, those teams are generally a little bit more open to selecting older players. So I don't think it changes too much for them. It's always about how good is the player and how does that player fit.
Well, we are so glad that you are able to squeeze us in on what is going to be an extremely busy part of your schedule. Ladies and gentlemen, our first in-studio guest, and we are so happy that it's the one and only Jeremy Wu. Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it.
So the money that is being thrown around in the collegiate area or for the younger athletes is not only for the United States, because if last week we were talking about Kevin Kimbao going from Korea to the States in the hopes of making it onto a summer league team, this week the news is that UP guard / forward Francis Lopez is trying his second attempt at playing abroad. I believe it is in Japan. So the concern about the talent drain in the PBA is brought up once again. When this came out a few years back, there were rumors of players being banned, which was then rescinded. And I think that the main resolution for this is not to punish the players. I mean, I could dive into so many different reasons as to why players are deciding to play elsewhere and not in the Philippines, but I don't think that solves anything at all. I want to focus on what the PBA can do to make sure that they are not left behind, because the Philippines isn't the only place that this is happening. When Luka Doncic decided to leave Real Madrid and join the NBA draft, you didn't see the EuroLeague start to scramble to find the next big star. When Josh Giddey or Dyson Daniels or even anyone from the likes of Alex Condon, who's in the upcoming NBA draft, decided not to play in the NBL did not lose its luster. What they all did, what all of these leagues around the world do, is that they build up their new champions. And that's where the PBA needs to, I think, start to progress towards. Build up your superstars. Champion them. I know that it's a league run by advertisements on the front, but it's about the names on the back that make the league great. How do you think the PBA should start to tackle and make sure that they are relevant when it comes to their talent? Put it in the comments section, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube, and we will be more than happy to read all of your responses. Speaking of which, make sure to like and subscribe to all of our stuff on YouTube. Head on over to espn.ph for more, and on Instagram at espn.ph and at ESPN Asia. Thank you to Jeremy Wu for dropping by. My name is Aaron Atayde. We'll see you all again next time.